All right, what's up, everyone? It's Zach, and today I'm here with a very special guest. I'm here with my good friend Tony Dombrowski. Tony D, how are you doing, Tony?
Zach, it's a pleasure to be here, man. We've been talking about getting me on your pod for a while now. So now that I'm actually here and talking with you today, it's an honor. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been a long time making, so glad to have you. Thank you for taking some time to talk today. For those of you who might not be too familiar with Tony, he is a huge sports fan, really passionate about sports in general, but specifically Detroit sports. As you can see, he's repping the Detroit Tigers Old English D on the hat. But Tony's been making videos on Twitter, on YouTube for a while now. He also is a fellow podcaster and just really passionate about sports in general and really the way that I honestly get a lot of my news on Detroit sports. So that's just a little bit about Tony and what he does. But do you mind kind of going into your background, what you do these days, all that good stuff?
Yeah, so as Zach kind of mentioned there, I'm a content creator talking about all things Detroit sports, as miserable as that might sound. That's what I've been doing throughout the past, we're getting close to the 5 year anniversary mark of when I first posted my first video on Twitter. You can find most of my stuff on Twitter and YouTube. I actually thought about that the other day, how we're kind of reaching the 5 year anniversary mark for when I first made my first video on Twitter, where I just kind of went into my parents' basement. I was so nervous. I was just holding the camera, shaking, and you heard that like nervous little like frog in my voice or whatever. And yeah, I released that before I started my freshman year at Oak University in the fall of 2017. And now here we sit in August 2022. We're reaching the 5 year mark of me doing my thing on Twitter. And I recently started up my YouTube channel as well recently. That's doing pretty well as well. So yeah, I'm just all things Detroit sports content creator. I make videos talk about the latest news in Detroit sports. As Zach said, it's an honor to hear that you get most of the breaking news reaction from me. That means a lot to hear. I appreciate that. And one of the things I'm most known for with my videos is making post game reactions for every single game involving the Tigers, Red Wings, Pistons, and Lions. After every single game, or mostly every game, especially during a season like we're seeing right now with the Tigers. I like to take a few days off here and there just to kind of, relax and recharge or whatever. But yeah, for most of the games throughout the regular seasons for all four of those teams, I make post game reactions, just talk about my big takeaways from the game or whatever. And it's always cool to see like the conversations that get started in the comments and the replies to those videos as well. I get to talk with other people about what happened in the game. So yeah, like I said, I've been doing that for about 5 years now, and there's nothing else I'd rather be doing. And now to be able to turn that into something that I can make money off of too with the roast number sponsorship as well. It's almost a dream come true to be able to just make money and build up a brand of mine just by talking about Detroit sports. Uh, Kind of a dream come true, honestly, and I'm excited to see where it takes me going forward.
That's awesome, and it's a lot of work and a lot of hard work. So I'm glad that it's kind of paying off in a sense, and it's leading you to that kind of dream that you have. And I think it's awesome to see. And just from the time that I've known you, I don't know how long it's been. It's been at least a few years, but like to see the growth and like
Yeah.
you as a person, your content, the sponsorship with Roast Umber. I mean, it's just been awesome to see.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I don't know, maybe you know more than I would. I think the first time me and you met actually was like in person
Hmm.
was probably at one of the Pink Out the Park games at Comerica Park. I
Yeah.
would probably say that might be the first time we've actually met each other in person.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been talking to each other on Twitter throughout the past number of years, and I think we met each other mutually through Adam.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Yep.
sure that sounds about right. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure we met each other through
We
Adam.
did.
Adam obviously was also a Twitter follower for a long time, and it's actually funny because I do this all the time. I'll see that people with blue check marks or whatever follow me on Twitter, and I don't follow them back, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I look so arrogant
Yeah.
having a blue check mark follow me. I don't follow them
Yeah.
back, so I followed Adam back, and this was obviously years ago. I followed Adam back, and then talked to him for a little bit, and he turned into someone that I kind of go to now for career advice sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, Adam's a really cool dude, and he introduced me to you as well. And
Yeah.
here we are talking on your podcast.
Yeah, no, I love it, it's awesome, and Adam, shout out to Adam, he's a great guy, someone I've known, quite a long time, went to high school with him, and, to anyone listening, you might remember Adam was on a podcast episode earlier, in the show, so he's a great guy, and, definitely glad that we connected, through him, and, you and I have been able to maintain the friendship, and, I've definitely learned a lot from you and, have been inspired and motivated by you, so it's been really cool. Um, but Tony, something that I wanted to ask you is, I'm a big sports fan myself. I mean, obviously, you know that we talk
Mhm,
a lot of sports. But I think as I kind of got older, I just, I get busier, whether it's school or work or just, doing other things.
mhm.
So I haven't been keeping up with Detroit sports as much or just sports in general. And that's like I said in the introduction, like I really appreciate your content because that's really how I stay up to date with things. How are you able to balance things or like, how much work does it really take to know as much information that you have for not just one sports team, but all the sports teams? Like, what goes into being able to do your content?
Yeah, so one of the things I like to say is I watch the games so you don't have to,
Okay.
especially during like a rough Tiger season like this.
Yeah.
You're gonna see me mention the Tigers a lot because I think they're a perfect example of they're so bad. They're so bad. I know not a lot of people are going to want to sit through entire baseball game period, let alone a baseball game for this really bad
Yeah.
baseball team. But it's not even just to pick on the Tigers. Like we know Detroit sports haven't exactly been in the best state over the past number of years, even though
Right.
things are getting better
Yeah.
for 3 out of 4, I would say.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
yeah, like I like to say that I watch the games so you don't have to. Um, but yeah, Zach, it really is time consuming. But as I said, there's nothing else I'd rather be doing
Mhm.
with my time because I've been a diehard Detroit sports fan since I was a little kid. I mean, my first Detroit sports memories go back to 2006 with the Tigers World Series. There we
Yep.
go again with another Tigers reference. And by the way, the Tigers cap, which you brought up there, that's just part of the Tony D brand.
Yeah.
From my first video I posted back in 2017 to today, like I always have the old English D on because it's not just a Tiger hat to me. It's a way to represent the city.
Mhm.
Like when I see the old English D, I think of the city of Detroit more than I think of the Detroit Tigers. Honestly, like
Yeah.
obviously it's a Tiger cap,
Right.
but I think it's a good symbol for the city of Detroit too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like my first memories with Detroit sports go all the way back to that 2006 American League Championship Tigers team, and that turned into all right. Well, let's check out the Red Wings too, and then the Lions and the Pistons. Fun
Okay.
fact about my Lions fandom: my first Lions season was when they went winless. So it took me until my second year as a fan. I'm 23 right now. It took me until my second year as a Lions fan to see my first win, believe it or not. So that's always a fun little comment
Yeah.
I like to make there when I talk about how my Lions fandom started. But yeah, it really is time consuming. Obviously, like I said, I make videos after every single game
Mhm.
for all four of them: Lions, Pistons, Red Wings, Tigers. Like all year round,
Yeah.
I'm working,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm working for multiple hours throughout the day. Like this is legitimately a job for me,
Mhm.
and it's cool that, like I said earlier, with the roast number sponsorship, I'm able to make money now
Yeah.
by doing this. I could kind of turn this into a profession almost,
Right.
along with being like a content creator, or whatever.
Right.
It is time consuming, but like I said, there's nothing I'd rather be doing. I mean, I've been watching Detroit sports for years since I was like 2006. I was probably 5 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I would be like 5 years old, or 5, 6, or 7, one of those
For
years.
sure.
So I was a really, really little kid, and
Mhm.
now here I am at 23 years
Yeah.
old and still watching Detroit sports. So this is something I've been doing for basically my entire life, and even though it is time consuming, it's tiring at times to have
Mhm.
to watch. I'm not going to pick on the Tigers again. To watch a heartbreaking Lions loss, or a blowout Pistons loss, or a bad Wings loss, or whatever.
Mhm.
It can get tiring at times, sure. I'm a fan at the end of the day. It's never fun to have to watch and then talk about a pretty bad loss for
Right.
loss in general for one of our sports teams. But yeah, man, there's nothing I'd rather be doing, even if it's time
Yeah.
consuming. There's nothing I'd rather put my time to, and the fact that I can kind of turn this into a profession now is really, really cool.
I love that, and, it's cool because something that I've talked to, on the podcast with other guests is, like, the idea of having passions and then, like, is that passion for that individual just something they love to do with their free time, or is that their career and what they're doing, to make money? And it seems like for you, it is now, like, with the sponsorship, it is a way that you are making it into a career, but, like,
Mhm.
you've to me, on this conversation or just in general, it doesn't seem like you've ever had any waver in that passion, right? Because I know some people say, like, once your passion becomes work, you start to resent it a little bit because, you don't really have that separation. But it's really cool to hear that you still have that same passion as you did, when you were 5, 6, 7, watching those Tigers, unfortunately in the World Series, but they made it to the World Series. That's all that matters.
Oh man, we are just crapping all over the
I
Tigers in
know.
this podcast.
I
Oh my
know.
goodness. But kind of bouncing off a point you made about how if like I did this in my free time as well before I kind of turned
Mhm.
it into a profession, or I'm turning it into a profession as we speak. Um it initially did start as kind of like not a hobby almost, but like I wanted to turn it into something,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I originally, so let me take you back, Zach,
Okay.
to um, right after I graduated high school, and I was about to start my freshman year at Oakland University. So this would be, again, the summer of 2017, going
Okay.
into the fall of 2017. Just graduated high school, now going to start my freshman year at Oakland University. I majored in journalism. That's what I graduated with. That was my degree. And originally I wanted to start a podcast. Like that was kind of like my big thing. I wanted to be a sports writer and have a Detroit sports talk podcast. That
Okay.
was the original goal back then. And like today, as you would know, it's incredibly easy to just start up your own podcast,
Right.
but back then,
Yeah.
it wasn't entirely so easy just to kind of like quickly start up your own
Right.
podcast. I mean, back then, not a lot of people even knew what a podcast was,
Right. Right.
let alone like want to start up their own podcast and know how to do that.
Yeah.
So I reached out to some good friends of mine, and I asked them to kind of like help me out with this. One of them would be my co-host, the other one would kind of be like the camera guy, the audio guy, and stuff like that. My friends John and Troy, who I went to high school with. So I reached out to them, and I'm kind of like, "Can you guys help me out with this? Because I really don't necessarily know what I'm doing,
Mhm.
like with this podcast yet." They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll help you out." So we got together and kind of like brainstormed or whatever, and we had this whole plan. We're going to start a podcast and everything. And one of the comments that my friend Troy made was, you need to kind of like build up your audience first, because there's no point in starting up your own like podcast or whatever and
Yeah.
then having like no one watch or listen to what you're going to say.
Right.
So before we start this, you should probably try to build up an audience in some fashion.
Okay.
It made a lot of sense, and I agreed with that. So one of the things that we kind of thought about was starting with YouTube videos and trying to do that. But the problem with YouTube, even though I'm doing it right now and I feel like my videos are doing well and my channel's grown a lot in the short amount of time that I've been doing it throughout the past like 2 years or so, the problem with YouTube is that it takes a while to really get your channel
Mhm.
growing. Unless you're like, super talented, and it might even take a little bit of luck, honestly, to just have your channel
Yeah.
blow up just like that.
Yeah.
Um, YouTube is really a grind to get going. Like I started my channel 2 years ago, and I still haven't even hit 1,000 subs yet. Like
Right.
it's a grind on YouTube. So we wanted to figure out something to build my brand up and build my audience up kind of a little bit faster than
Mhm.
YouTube would take. So one of the things we talked about was doing like posting my stuff to social media.
Yeah.
So I like that idea. We tried to figure out what social media site to really pick on to where we felt like my brand would grow as quick as possible.
Mhm.
And we we kind of all agreed that Twitter was probably the best way to go.
Yeah.
So that led me into making my very first video, which ironically we're approaching the 5-year anniversary mark on that.
Yeah.
Where again, I ran off to my parents' basement. I was living at home, and I went into the basement. I was just kind of I went into the basement just to kind of like, because like I didn't want to be awkward in front of my parents and
Yeah.
just start talking in the middle of my bedroom or whatever.
Right.
And then they're like, what is he talking to nobody? What's he doing over there? So I ran to the basement where it was nice and quiet. I was holding my phone. I was really nervous. You could
Yeah.
hear the frog in my voice or whatever. And I was like, hi, my name's Tony. I'm going to be making Detroit sports videos. I'm going to college at Oak University. And just kind of introduce like
Yeah.
what I was going to be doing with my Twitter page, you
Sure.
know? So that was like 5 years ago. And now 5 years later, here I am. And still continuing to build up the brand, build up the build up the overall brand to
Mhm.
the best that I can.
I love it. That's awesome to kinda go back in time with you and to hear your journey and everything, and how it's, come along, and, I think that something that just being a casual sports fan, myself is social media and just, like, websites, I guess, and news and stuff. It's very honestly oversaturated with sports news and people that are reporting on sports and stuff. But the thing that I've always appreciated about you, and honestly, even before like you and I even became friends, I would say just like kind of casually checking out your
Mhm.
content, you have a very good style and like you said, that brand that really engages people. And it's like I think that's why you've been seeing so much success because it's like you're relatable, you keep it real, it's very authentic, and it doesn't seem like anything's forced, like, and it doesn't seem like you're just someone that's like, "Oh, yeah, you know, I love the Tigers," but, like, you can't name the starting lineup or something, right? Like, you can tell how
Mhm.
passionate you are about it, so I think that's really cool, and I think it really has, in my eyes, helped separate you from some other, folks out there who do similar things or trying to report on similar things.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you said it like it doesn't feel forced
Mhm.
with my content. It doesn't feel like I force things out necessarily. And I'm glad that you said that because that's one of the things I'm trying to like hit home with, you know?
Yeah,
I really don't try to force things that aren't there if that makes
yeah.
sense, you know? Like I, there's a lot of negativity around Detroit sports, like we mentioned.
Mhm.
It hasn't exactly been great over these past number of years, but it's easy to go in front of the camera and just try to, spew out a bunch of hot take
Mhm.
negative garbage. That's
Yeah.
not something I like to do. I try
Mhm.
to be as optimistic and as possible and passionate as I can. And I try not to overdo it, and I try not to force it as much as
Yeah.
you kind of hammered at there. So I appreciate that you said that because that's one of the things I'm really trying to, like I said, trying to really hammer home. I don't want to force
Mhm.
things out there that like aren't there. Everything I say and do in front of the camera, that's just me. It's
Yeah.
just pure passion, and it's just who I am.
Yeah, I think that's great, and, like you're just saying, Tony, um, you're a very optimistic person, which I think is great because, again, like, a lot of news can be more negative, whether it's sports news or just, like, world news, like, it can be a little more negative or not as, like, happy things to talk about, especially, like, for sports when things aren't going well for a team, so I really do appreciate you keep the optimism, but like you said, you're also realistic, right? Like, you're not over here saying, like, "Oh, the Tigers, they're going to the World Series," like, you're keeping it real still.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing that I try to really hammer home in my videos. Like I tell my audience all the time, I never go in front of the camera and lie to you.
Mhm.
Like I'm not going to go in front of the camera and say something that I truly don't believe.
Yeah.
Whether it's positive or negative. I mean, I think you mentioned this as well. I tell it how I see it, and that's
Mhm.
exactly what I do. I don't go in front of the camera, lie to my audience. I
Right.
tell them exactly what's on my mind. If I feel like this person had a good game, I say it. If I feel like they did not have a good game, I say it.
Mhm.
If I like the direction of this team, I say it. If
Right.
I don't like the direction of this team, I'll say it.
Right.
If I feel good about how a player is performing, or I don't feel good about how that player is performing, I'll say it.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah, that's another thing I try to really hammer home with my audience is that I just keep it
Yeah.
100% with them all the time.
Yeah, I think that's important, and, the cool thing, kind of keeping it real and just also having that optimism that I've really enjoyed about just seeing your content is, like, it seems like whenever any team, drafts a new player or makes a trade or signing or something, it like, I really appreciate that you give it a chance. Like, I don't really think I can think of an example where you're like, "Oh, no, that was dumb," or, like, "That's like, this player is terrible," or, whatever. Like, there's been some signings or trades that are like, "Did that really make sense?" But, like, you still seem to be like,
Yeah.
"I hope they pan out, like, I hope they do well and stuff," and, I think that that's all we can do because none of us are GMs, so we have no idea, what we're getting and stuff.
Ye Yeah, like draft picks especially,
Mhm.
like they're so young. They're just young kids, you know? So I really try to be patient with draft picks, especially in this city because all four of our teams have had high picks throughout the past how many
Our
years, you
lifetime.
know? So a long, long time. We've been in draft lotteries and top three picks for
Mhm.
a lot of years now. So it's going to be good, hopefully, soon when we're picking in the later rounds of the
Yeah.
draft, maybe with the last pick because that means we
Mhm.
won the championship.
Right.
But yeah, if I don't agree with, I think a free agency signing or a trade is a good example because again, I like to try to be patient with all of our draft picks.
Mhm.
I never really like talking bad about a young prospect or
Right.
anything like that. But free agency signings that I might not necessarily agree with, trades that I'm kind of like, all right, we'll see.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm never afraid to go in front of the camera and be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong,
Right.
but like
Right.
I don't know. But that's one of the things that you kind of mentioned. This, I think that's one of the things that kind of really helped my brand grow
Mhm.
and helped my channels become what they are
Yeah.
today, if you will. Um, it's the fact that I don't go in front of the camera and say something that I don't truly
Right.
believe.
For sure.
Like if I think all right, so let's make an example here. So you're a Pistons guy, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Big Pistons guy.
All right, so the Kelly Olynyk signing few off seasons ago,
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of that. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's Kelly Olynyk, you
Yeah.
know. But like, I think that's a good example. That's
Mhm.
like that was one move where I was kind of like,
Yeah.
all right, we'll see. And like, he had some good moments last year, sure, including the game winner in Charlotte, which I
Yes.
said in that post game. I said that post in that post game video. I wouldn't talk bad about Kelly Olynyk anymore after that. And I'm staying true to that, but I'm making a one time exception as an example here.
Yeah. Yep.
So like that's a good example. Like I didn't
Mm.
go in front of my camera and I was like, oh yeah, I really like this move, even though I didn't.
Right.
Like that's just an example where
Yep.
it's like if I question a move a little bit, regardless of the team, like I'll say it,
Right.
you know.
Right. For sure.
So and like we kind of hammered on, I think that's kind of what helped my brand grow
Mhm.
throughout these past number of years.
Definitely. I would definitely agree, and I definitely encourage you to continue being that way. I think it really resonates with people. So
If I can add this without
yeah.
meaning to interrupt you,
Oh, you're good.
I I like keeping it real with people
Mhm.
without going too overboard, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be too negative or too positive.
Yeah.
Like I try to be more positive than negative because
Mhm.
again, there's so much negativity in the world
Mhm.
and with Detroit sports.
Yeah.
Like I try to be as optimistic as possible as I can be because at the end of the fan, I am a fan.
Yep.
At the end of the day, so
Mhm.
like I don't want to go in front of my camera each night and talk junk about
Right.
any of these teams.
Right.
But like even for me at some points, it's like, all right, like
Yeah.
go back to crapping on the Tigers here. It eventually got to a point where I was like, all right, I got to start talking about
Yeah.
how bad this baseball team is. 'Cause no
Yeah.
matter how optimistic I try to be, like they're just not good.
Right.
So I want to add in there too while I want to keep it as honest as possible. At the same time, I do understand it's not all in one direction. Like it's not
Mhm.
all positive. It's
Right.
not all negative. Like I try to do the best job that I can
Yeah.
to just be as honest with people as possible.
Yeah, and I think in addition to, like, you being honest, I think you're very factual. Like, here's the statistics for the player. Like, this is why, you know,
Hmm.
Torkelson just got sent down because he is not performing. Like, it's not like,
Oh
"Oh, he sucks,"
yeah.
like, he was a waste of a pick. Like, you're very just, like, factual. Like, he wasn't hitting well. His defense, sure, was great, but, maybe going down to the minors will help him kinda straighten things out a bit, find his swing. So, I like that in
Hmm.
addition to keeping it real, like, and being honest, you're also using, like, facts and it's not just, like, all opinion based.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, you got to bring up some facts
Right.
eventually. Like I'm
Exactly.
a big numbers guy. I like to talk about the stats during games or whatever.
Mhm.
I like to mention my like post game reactions, like oh hey, Riley Green had a good game, 2 hits, 2 RBIs, a run scored. I like numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a big fan of math. I was a journalism major. Please don't ask me to do any multiplication or division on this podcast, please, Zach.
I gotcha.
But but like yeah, stats are I like stats.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
that's the point I was going to make.
Okay.
I like to mix it up in my videos
Mhm.
too. Like you said, it's not just all opinion, and that's done on purpose. Like I like being able to like mix opinion with just straight up talking about what happened in this game. How did the Tigers take the 2-1 lead?
Yeah.
How did the Pistons take that late lead in the fourth quarter? Who scored that late goal? Who got that late touchdown or
Mhm.
whatever, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I enjoy in my videos personally. I enjoy being able to mix opinion with just straight up what happened in the game
Yeah.
and mix some numbers in there as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. So we kinda touched on just, like, briefly draft picks and stuff like that, so maybe a little bit of a controversial topic, but I'm curious on your thoughts of it. Like, do you like draft lotteries, or should it be, like, worst
Draft
record?
draft lotteries.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate draft lotteries.
Okay. Yeah.
I know the Pistons got lucky in the draft lottery. We moved up to eventually get Kate Cunningham, and that's always going to be a special moment in my heart as a Detroit sports fan.
Yep.
People ask me all the time, "What's my favorite video I've ever published?" And it's the live reaction to us win the draft lottery,
Yeah.
knowing that Kate Cunningham is going to be Detroit Pistons.
Mhm.
But yeah. As someone who's been a Detroit sports fan their entire life, and especially throughout these past number of years where it hasn't exactly been great, as you know,
Right.
yeah, I'm not a huge draft lottery
Okay.
guy. I like the NFL method where it's just like if you suck, you're going to get a top pick,
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about having the worst record in the league and then dropping to like the fourth or fifth pick.
Right.
Especially in this, we've seen that happen way too many times.
Mhm.
The Red Wings, after as bad as they were in the 2019-2020 season, for example, they had the worst record in the league, best lottery odds, and they fell to four.
Yeah.
We still got Lucas Raymond, and that turned out to be probably the best pick out of that draft, in my opinion. No bias, but like it still just stinks.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I'm not a huge draft lottery guy. It's not fun going to draft lotteries and just expecting your team to have the worst possible pick and worst possible outcome. But
Mhm.
that's that's how it is as a Detroit sports fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer your question, not a big draft lottery guy personally, even though we did get lucky with the
Mhm.
Pistons for 1 year. We dropped the very next year after we got a little lucky. We
Right.
still got Jane Ivy,
Yeah.
so it worked out.
Yeah.
But yeah, draft lotteries for me, they're a no. I would
Okay.
prefer just to take the NFL route, if you will.
Yeah.
I If I can add this really
Yeah.
quickly, I understand why you have draft
Yeah.
lotteries. Like these leagues want to prevent tanking. Like I get all that, but you're not going to prevent tanking no matter what you
Right.
do. Like it's just a thing, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. I mean, like, I don't know, like you said, I understand the intentions of the draft lotteries, but I just like the NFL's method of just worst team gets the number 1 pick, just I think if you're looking at especially I guess especially thinking about, like, the NBA, right, with, like, so many, like, super teams and stuff these days, it's like, how do bad teams get better if there's always the chance that, like, the worst team is dropping way down in the lottery and not getting that top tier talent, so,
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
but speaking of kinda, like, draft picks in the future, what Detroit sports team are you most optimistic about?
That's a good question, Zach. You may or may not hate me for this answer, but again, I tell it how I see it. I don't think I can pick just one team to
Okay.
answer that question.
Yeah.
I really like the direction that the Pistons are going in
Mhm.
under Troy Weaver. Obviously, they got Kate Cunningham, and they got a lot of really nice young pieces around him too. Guys like
Mhm.
Jane Ivey, Sadiq Bey, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren, Isaiah Livers. My guy Killian. I'm still
I was gonna
holding
say,
out
yeah.
hope for Killian.
Yep.
I'm still holding out hope for Killian. He had a good ending to his season
Yeah.
last year off the bench. He was pretty solid in his role off the bench, but yeah, I like the direction that the Pistons are going in. I feel really good about the direction of this team under Troy Weaver,
Mhm.
especially with how he came in here however many years ago it was and was just able to flip that roster around just like that. I
Yeah.
mean, the roster that he inherited when he came here, no one is left from that team.
Right.
No one is left from that team. He completely turned it around in like a year,
Yeah.
let alone like 2 or 3 years, however long it's been at this point.
Right.
Um, so I feel really good about the direction of the Pistons under Troy Weaver. Obviously, Steve Yzerman for the Red
Oh,
Wings
yeah.
is one of the top GMs in the entire sport. I mean, he built a juggernaut in Tampa Bay
Oh,
that nearly won back-to-back Stanley Cups. So he has a track record there, and because of that track record, I feel like Steve has given himself all the patience and the time that he
mhm.
needs to right this ship.
Yeah.
Like I say this all the time with Steve Eisman and the Red Wings. Steve's a big patience guy. He's mentioned multiple times, like press conferences and interviews or whatever, that like patience is important and it's going to take time to build this in the right way.
Mhm.
Which he is right. I'm glad that he says that. And like Steve has earned all the time that he needs because of the track record that he does have and seeing the team that he built in Tampa Bay,
Yep.
So, yeah, Steve is one of the best in the business as the GM of the Red Wings, and that team is going to be really good really soon.
Mhm.
That team is going to be really good really soon. So I like the direction of that team as well. And then, believe it or not, I mean,
I'm waiting to
oh,
hear it.
Tony D drinking the Kool Aid, but like I like the direction that the Lions are going
I do
in.
too.
I feel like it's August 4th at the time of recording this with you, Zach. Like we're getting ready to go into the 2022 football season. This is the most excited I've been for a Lions season in years.
Yeah.
Like I'm really excited for the Lions this season, and when I say that I'm excited, it's not because I feel like we're going to make a playoff run or
No.
anything like that. I I just I just like the direction that this team is going in under Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell.
Mhm.
I like the direction that they have this team going in right now. Because with Brad Holmes, kind of going back to what I said with Troy Weaver and how he was able to quickly turn around that roster and that kind of the direction of that team. I feel like Brad Holmes has kind of done the same exact thing. Now, obviously, we need to see what happens this year. We want to see more progress be taken.
Mhm.
Me personally, I would like to see more than 3 wins this year.
Right.
but like Brad Holmes took over the Detroit Patriots,
Yeah.
and things weren't looking great for this team after we had to move off of the old regime.
Mhm.
We had to trade Matthew Stafford. Like things weren't looking great at the time,
Right.
but now looking at the direction of this team and seeing a lot of the young pieces this team has offensively and defensively. Now we aren't there yet. We're
Right.
not there yet. Like I said, I'm not expecting a playoff run this year, but like you see guys like Aiden Hutchinson, uh, Monty Orarie, Panay Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift. Like, there are some really nice young pieces on this team,
Mhm.
and I feel like Brad Holmes deserves a lot of credit for being able to have this team in the spot that they are in right
Yeah.
now, where I feel like they do. Believe it or not, I think the Lions do have a really bright future ahead of them. And like I said, I'm excited for the upcoming 2022 season for them. It's the most excited I've been for a Lions season in a long time. Even if I'm not expecting playoffs, I'm still just really excited to watch the Lions this year. So, Zach, it was a long answer, but to answer your question, I can't pick one team where I feel
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I think they have the brightest future in this city. I straight up like the direction of the Pistons, the Red Wings, the Lions. I'm feeling really good about the directions of those teams.
I love it. No, I mean, not a specific one team answer, but I really appreciate and respect it all. And honestly, I agree with you. I mean, I'm 26, so I only have a few years on you, but been a huge Detroit sports fan all my life. And like you've said, I don't think I've been this excited about Detroit sports in a long time. Like the last time I've been so excited about the Pistons was what, like the 2004 to 2006 time with Chauncey, Rip, and Sheed, Tayshaun, all those guys. Last time I was excited about um, the Lions. I don't know if that's ever been a thing. I guess maybe back when like Stafford and Megatron were still playing together, but I mean, I'm excited for their
Mhm.
direction. Admittedly, I'm not the hugest hockey fan, so I don't know too much about the Wings historically, but I know like growing up, they were always in the playoffs and Stanley Cups and stuff. So like, I would love to get the team back to that stage. And the Tigers, like Tony mentioned, I definitely have vivid memories of them in the early 2000s with the World Series, and when we had players like JV and Max Scherzer and prime Miggy
Ah,
winning the Triple Crown and all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, I feel again we're we're being a little mean to the Tigers, but outside the Tigers, I feel pretty optimistic about all of them.
deservingly so.
Yes, deservingly so. Um, but kind of, out of curiosity, talking like we've talked about kind of the future and how you're feeling about them. For the current teams, who would you say is like your favorite player? And then who's someone that maybe not your favorite player, but someone that you're excited for? You're excited for their future or to see how they develop or what they can do for the teams.
Okay, another good question. That's a little bit of a thinker. Can
Yeah.
I do all four teams? Just kind of rapid fire
Yeah.
with all four of them?
Let's hear it.
Perfect. All right, so let's start with the Pistons. So obviously, favorite player. That's an easy answer. Kelly Olynyk. Uh, my favorite player is Corey Joseph.
Kojo, man.
My favorite player is obviously Kate Cunningham.
Okay.
I mean, I don't need to explain why. I think that's a pretty consensus answer among Piston fans. And then the player I'm most excited for, correct?
Yeah, excited for just like who you think is maybe underrated or people aren't giving as much respect. Maybe I'm setting you up for a Killian Hayes answer, but
I'm not going to answer Killian because I don't necessarily think he's the right answer for that. Though I love Killian,
yeah,
I don't think he's necessarily underrated or
yeah,
underappreciated because I mean while I disagree with all like the Killian is a bust
hmm,
takes out there and Killian sucks and all that stuff. Like I understand it. He
yeah,
was a seventh overall pick and he hasn't really played much, let alone like done anything,
sure, yeah,
But as we said earlier, I'm a big patience guy.
yeah,
I love to be patient.
yeah,
The minute we drafted Killian, I mentioned like, hey, listen, it's going to take some time for him to
hmm,
develop offensively.
oh
So
yeah,
I'm going to be a little patient with Killian. And sure enough, I mean, the guy just turned 21. He
yeah,
can now legally buy alcohol in in the United States.
yeah, yep,
So like, yeah, I'm still a big Killian guy, but Killian's not going to be the answer to that
okay,
question. Um, I'm really excited for Jay and Ivy. I
okay,
think that's similar to Cade being my favorite player. I think that's kind of a consensus. I mean, who isn't excited to watch Jay and Ivy
hmm,
on this basketball team this season and
yeah,
going forward? Um, Underrated player. I don't know if this is. I don't know if he's underrated, but nationally, I think he might be underrated. That's Sadiq Bey.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't think enough people nationally are talking about Sadiq Bey being like a legitimate piece for this team going forward.
Mhm.
You know,
I'd agree with that.
um, even after he had a 50-point game this past
Right.
season, and after he's been just breaking a bunch of 3-point records
Mhm.
for this basketball team, like I just don't. And this isn't a Piston fans thing. Like I said, I think nationally,
Yeah,
Sadiq Bey is really underrated. So to answer your question from a Piston standpoint,
yeah.
favorite players Cade, most excited for Jane Ivy, underrated I feel like is Sadiq Bey from a
Okay,
national standpoint, not necessarily from a Pistons fan standpoint.
okay.
Moving on to we'll get the Red Wings out of the way, and I'll make this quick because I know you said you're not a big hockey guy. My favorite player is probably Dylan Larkin. It's the hometown guy, the
Yeah,
captain. Everyone loves Dylan Larkin.
yep.
That's my favorite. Most excited, I would probably say I'm excited for another Mo Sider season.
Mhm.
Mo Sider obviously won the Calder last year, which is the NHL's Rookie of the Year. He is going to be so so good. Mo Sider is a
Yeah.
beast. Even for people like you that might not be a big hockey guy, I'm telling you right now, watch out for Mo
Oh,
Sider.
yeah.
Like when this Wings team is going to be good again real soon, I'm telling you, Mo Sider is going to be one of those leading guys where he's going to be one of the best players, if not the best player on this team. He's going to be really good for a really long time.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for another season of Mo Sider. And then underrated player, I would say their new goalie acquisition, Billy Huso, and
Yeah.
I can also add their current guy, Alex Nedeljkovic, in there too. So I'll kind of combine them into one answer. So Billy Huso, we just acquired this offseason from St. Louis. He had a pretty rough postseason with St. Louis, but he faced two really good teams in the playoffs. So I'm not necessarily too like picky on that.
Mhm.
But like, he had a really good regular season. He's still only like 27 years old, I think it is. So he's a really solid starting goaltender. I think he's going to come in here and be a nice 1-2 punch with Alex Nedeljkovic too, who I know Ned didn't have a great year last year, but he's someone that I still have a lot of high hopes for.
Yeah.
And now that the team's defense, we hope is going to improve this season. I still feel like there is a good Alex Nedeljkovic in there. We saw it at points this past
Mhm.
year. Alex Nedeljkovic was really good, but we also saw points where it was really, really bad,
Yeah.
which I kind of feel like the bad Alex Nedeljkovic last year was because of the Wings' really bad defense more than it
Yeah.
was on him. But I'm still a Nedeljkovic believer. And to answer your question for underrated, I'll go with the Vili Huso, Alex
Okay.
Nedeljkovic 1-2 punching goaltender. Moving on to the Tigers, we'll end with the Lions. So Tigers, my favorite player. I don't want to say Miggy because
Yeah.
that's way too easy. I know Cade was an easy answer, Dylan Larkin was an easy answer. I really want to mix it up here. I don't want to say Miggy because I think that's way too easy.
Yeah.
So favorite Tiger.
No more
I,
Robbie
I know he's
Grossman.
still young. No more Robbie Grossman. That broke my heart.
I know.
That broke my heart. I wish I could say Javi because I
Yeah.
do like Javi, but he's been pretty brutal this season. So
Mhm.
um, I don't necessarily want to go with Javi. He's still really young, but I guess Riley Green,
Yeah.
like he's one of the only young pieces on this team I'm optimistic for. So and like Riley's a beast. I know it's only
Yeah.
been like 30 games or whatever it's been, but like you can see the potential there with Riley Green offensively and defensively. So I'll say Riley Green's my favorite player because again I feel like Miggy's the way too easy answer there. Close second being Tarek Skubal. I
Yep.
do like Tarek Skubal. I'm very glad he was not traded at the trade deadline for a box of crayons and a napkin. Um, so most it was favorite player,
Most
most
excited and then
excited, and then
underrated.
underrated.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, most excited Riley Green again
Mhm.
because kind of like I just said, you can see the potential there offensively and defensively, and he's like literally probably one of the only intriguing young pieces
Yeah.
on this team right now. So I'll say Riley Green from most exciting. Underrated, jeez. Uh underrated. Boy, Zach, I'm drawing a blank here with underrated. Um, I hate to say Gregory Soto because I know Tiger fans are
There's a
not
Tigers
big
fan
Gregory
somewhere freaking
Soto
out over
people.
that.
I know Tiger fans love Gregory Soto.
Yeah.
And I've had my issues with Gregory Soto too, even though the numbers are really good. And that's my biggest argument for why I kind of feel like he's underrated is
Mhm.
because of how good of a season he has actually had. Um, like I'll admit it, even I'm not a big Gregory Soto guy. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just not a big Gregory Soto guy either. But I guess he is a little underrated because he has been really good for the Tigers this
Yeah.
season. The numbers back it up. He has been really really good. But
Okay.
yeah, Tigers though underrated players. I was struggling
Yeah. That's fair.
with that one. I was going through names in my head. I'm like, no, he's not underrated. No, he stinks. No, he hasn't been good this year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a brutal year for the Tigers to say the least. But moving on to the Lions,
Yeah.
last but not least. And Zach, by the way, I want to hear your answer
Okay.
to this question as well. I'm intrigued by your answer to this.
Okay.
So for the Lions, favorite player, well, I know who your favorite player is, number 16, the quarterback. Um, favorite player on the Lions. That's a good one. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of guys I really do like on this team. I would probably have to go with probably DeAndre Swift.
Okay.
I don't know if that answer is going to be out of left field at all,
A
but
little
I'm a
bit.
big DeAndre Swift guy.
Okay.
Oh, so it is out of left field. Okay, it's understandable,
Yeah.
but I'm a big DeAndre Swift guy,
I
so I'm
like
going to
it.
go. My favorite player on this team right now is DeAndre Swift.
Okay.
Um, most exciting player. I'm gonna go DeAndre Swift again.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna use him as my underrated player either because I easily could go with the
You
DeAndre
could.
Swift trio. Um, but I'm excited for DeAndre Swift as well because I kind of feel like he is also a little bit underrated. I don't see enough people nationally talk about how good of a running back he is.
Mhm.
Very prime Alvin Kamara like.
Yeah.
You can use him as a pass catching threat out of the backfield, and obviously he can run the football too. He's got a excellent offensive line in front of him too. So I think he's gonna have a big year if he can stay healthy. So yeah, I'm gonna say I'm most excited for DeAndre Swift. Even though I could say DeAndre Swift is also a little bit underrated, like I
Mhm.
just said. For my underrated Lions player, I'm going to go with Jeff Okuda. I
Yeah.
still have a lot of hopes with Jeff Okuda. He is literally the Killian of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
It's just so similar. Like there's been injuries, there's been a major injury in there. High draft pick, still super super young, but I still see the potential there.
Mhm.
I'm still a Jeff Okuda believer. I know not a lot of people are very high on Jeff Okuda. I know there are lots of other people who are still high on Jeff Okuda and they're rooting for him. But yeah, I'm still a Jeff Okuda believer, and I'm going
Okay.
to go ahead and say that he's my underrated guy. But
Yeah.
I'm done talking. I want to hear your answers too.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely well, first, I appreciate your answers, and I agree with the things you said, so those all work with me. Um, I'll run through mine.
Start with the
Just
Lions if you don't mind,
okay.
because I want to. I know I will be disappointed if Jared Goff is not your favorite.
Be ready to be disappointed. So
Oh, how?
so I am a big Jared Goff fan, but, as of this year, that has changed. I will put on the record a little bias, but, I so and you don't even I've never even told you this, but, basically, like, when I was younger, I grew up, with one of Aiden Hutchinson's sisters. So, yeah, so
Okay,
she's a friend of
okay,
mine.
that's a good
So,
answer.
and I live in Plymouth, for anyone listening, so, gotta root for the Plymouth native. So Aiden, just rooting for him, it's a great story, so he'd be my favorite player, but as Tony said, big Jared Goff fan, so I'm gonna also, give some love to Jared. Um, most excited, and I'm trying to use different players for these, so I'm gonna say most excited is honestly Jeff Okuda, for pretty much the same reasons that you said, Tony. I mean, I get people think he's a bust, or like even people like argue never draft a cornerback that high, and yeah, I get it, but he was phenomenal at
Mhm.
Ohio State, and as a Big Ten football fan, like, I watched him torment both Michigan and Michigan State for years, so I still believe in him, and just, like, the videos that I've seen of him, rehabbing and stuff, he looks to be full strength, and I think he'll have a good year. Underrated, I I am kind of using the same player twice, but I'm gonna say Jared Goff. I mean, like, and Tony's said it in his videos too, like, the end of last year, Jared Goff played better than he started, 100%.
He
So
was
I think,
good.
yeah, I think he's not the answer in Detroit, which pains me to say, but, he is a good player, I believe, and, I
Well,
mean, I think McVay is a fantastic coach, and the Rams are a fantastic team, but I do think Jared Goff helps them reach the success that they did when he was there, so that'd be my answer for the Lions. Um, what do you want
it's a big
next?
year for Jared Goff in 2022.
It is.
It's a big year for Jared Goff, let me just say that.
It
You
is.
say he might not be the answer. I don't know if he's the answer either, but we're gonna probably find out in 2022.
We will. We will for sure, so I'm excited to see that. Um, which one do you want next, Tony?
Let's go Tigers. We don't wanna save the bad one for last.
Okay. Tigers,
And then go Pistons.
Tigers, Pistons, okay. So, as Tony said, Miggy's just a cop out. I mean, it's hard to not say Miggy's your favorite
It's
player.
such an easy answer.
Exactly. So I'm gonna avoid that, and I'll say favorite player. Tarek Skubal, it's just been fun to watch. I know he went from looking like the ace of the team to having a bit of a rocky, stretch, and, now he's on the DL and stuff, but I think when he's on, he's great, and, I mean, the whole team has been
Mhm.
rough to watch, so even during his, like, rough stretches, it's like the team's not really helping out any, so, Skubal, I'd say, is my favorite. Most excited, Riley Green. I mean, he's been fantastic so far. Very small sample size, and there's not much to get excited about with the Tigers, but I definitely think he's been an exciting point. So definitely excited for Riley. Ah, boy, underrated. I mean, I don't even. I wouldn't say he's been performing well, but I've always been a fan of Eric Haas. Like, I just think he had a pretty good year last year, and it's been a
Okay.
little rough, but I feel like he's having some
Mhm.
moments lately, and,
He
what did he just win, like, the Heart and Hustle
yeah, he's been
award?
coming out over the past few.
Yeah, so I feel like
Heart
he's
and
just
Hustle Award by the Players Alumni Association, I believe.
yeah, so I feel like he's just, like, he he's underrated in the sense that, like, maybe he might not be the best statistically or performance-wise, but I think he provides value to the team and just to the organization that maybe people outside of Detroit don't really see in terms of, like, maybe, like, leadership or just, kind of like the camaraderie. He always seems to be pretty big on that. So,
Yeah, he hasn't been bad over the past,
right.
like, few months.
Yeah, for sure. So, that would be my Tigers. Pistons, favorite player. Yes, it is easy, but Cade, I was a massive Cade fan, and I remember Tony and I talked nonstop before the lottery, like, we're like, "Oh, Cade's gonna be a Piston," and I'm pretty sure we did the same thing about LaMelo, and obviously that didn't work out,
Mhm.
but we had to eventually get one right, so, Cade's favorite.
Oh, yeah, yeah, the 2020 draft
Yep,
lottery. Yeah, I was so set on LaMelo, and then
yep,
it turned into, "Alright, gimme Killian." That's
yep,
who I wanted in the
same,
draft.
yep, so, yeah, definitely, but, Cade's favorite player, uh, most excited, so this is This is something that, like, I think people are just kind of forgetting about a little bit just because of the hype of Jaden Ivey. Um, Jalen Duren, man, like, I remember reading, like, people had him, like, top 3, top 5, like, when he was
Mhm.
going to Kentucky and stuff, and or not Kentucky, Memphis, sorry. But,
Members, yeah.
yeah, like, I remember he was, like, a huge, huge, huge prospect, and, like, he played well last year too, and, like, I believe he is the youngest, assuming he plays in the NBA, he's the youngest NBA player, in the league, so he's so young, he's very raw, um, and I don't know, I just think he has that, like, Detroit Pistons mentality too, so I'm just super excited to see him develop, and again, like, just like Tony was saying with Killian, just be patient. He's young, and he doesn't have to start. he probably won't start. He shouldn't start. But just like give him time to develop and learn from some of the vets that they have and stuff. And I'm excited for him. Um, Underrated. I like your answer with Sadiq. I'll definitely give you that one. Um, I just have to say it nationally. Cade needs more respect, so Cade is
He does.
underappreciated
Yeah.
in a national sense, but
Mhm.
more just like my personal player that's underrated. I'm a big Isaiah Livers guy. Like I just feel like people don't really,
Me too.
they're not really like they're like, oh, we have a lot of good young pieces, Sadiq, Beef Stew, whatever. I don't think many people always consider Livers to be one, but I think he'll be a nice piece. He'll definitely be a nice piece.
Mhm.
Um,
3 and D.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
important.
And then real quickly, just I know I said I'm not the biggest Wings fan, but I do follow them enough, and I would say favorite player Dylan Larkin, again an easy one, but just Michigan guy, great player, captain, awesome player. Most excited. I know everyone, including yourself, are really big on Mo, rightfully so. So I want to give some love to Lucas Raymond. He had a great season, so I'm excited
Good
to see him
answer.
develop.
Good answer.
And underrated, I'm with you with Ned Nedeljkovic. I thought like he was a solid goaltender for the team, and just from the last few years, I feel like that position's been pretty shaky for Detroit. So although Ned wasn't consistent the whole year or anything by any means, he definitely kind of gave me glimpses where I was like, okay, like we could be going somewhere with him, and yeah,
Mhm.
I'm optimistic about that. So that would be my quick take on my players' favorites, most excited and underrated.
I love it. I
Yeah,
want to hear your answers too.
yeah,
I enjoyed that question. I
yeah.
want to hear your answers too.
No, for sure. I appreciate it. But Tony, it's been an absolute pleasure getting to talk with you today, and I really thank you for your time and everything. To anyone that's listening to the podcast, if anyone really enjoyed kind of hearing about your story or wants to check out some of the Detroit sports reactions or news or updates that you post, what's the best way to connect with you and to check out your content?
Yeah, the best way to connect with me and find my content is on Twitter and YouTube. It's literally just my name, Tony Dombrowski.
Okay.
Um, that's the best way to find me. That's those are the two sites I mostly post my stuff on is Twitter and YouTube. So those are the
Okay.
best ways to find me and connect with me.
Okay. Perfect. And I will also put Tony's Instagram, or sorry, not Instagram, Twitter and YouTube in the description of the episode, so you can just go down there and find it that way. But definitely, especially if you're a big Detroit sports fan, go give them some love on those, and get some good updates. And I have to put it out there: if you're a coffee drinker, I think Tony might know of a place that you could go.
Yeah, Roast Umber, Michigan-based Roast Umber Coffee. They got their whole bean ground coffee, the nitro cold brew, whichever you prefer. I sound like I'm recording a video right now, just going over my my Roast Umber sponsorship. But yeah, you can visit their website roastumber.com and use the coupon code TonyD to save you 20% off the coffee order. Thanks for that plug, Zach. I appreciate that.
Of course, and as Tony and I can just kind of laugh about being able to plug that real quick. I'm personally not a coffee drinker, so I can't say one way or another how I like roast umber. But I know, like Tony said, he keeps it real, and I know he enjoys it, and the people that I've talked to that have tried it have enjoyed it. And to anyone that's listening, if you are a coffee drinker or want to support a Michigan based company or something, I'd definitely say check it out. You know things like these sponsorships, they honestly mean more to the people that have them than you probably know or understand. So if you're able to or willing to um support Tony through roast umber, I know that would mean probably more to him than you'd ever honestly realize. So he's a good guy
One
and the
one
company's good.
hundred percent.
Yeah.
100%. Thank you for that, Zach.
Yeah, of course. So Tony, any final message, words, thoughts, anything that you want to share with someone listening today?
Well, first of all, this was a pleasure, Zach. Like I said to begin the episode, we've been talking about doing this for a while now. So to finally be on here with you and to get to talk to you today was a real pleasure. I appreciate it as always. Um, my last word of wisdom, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
There's a lot of negativity in the world, especially from a Detroit sports standpoint. But hey, nothing wrong with trying to be a little positive and optimistic, even if things are looking a little dark for one of the teams in particular, Tigers. But yeah, nothing wrong with a little positivity and optimism.
Yeah, I love it, and like Tony said, whether that's your sports teams or just life in general, nothing wrong with some positivity or optimism. A little can go a long way, so, keep that in the back of your mind. Um, Thank you again, Tony, for the kind words and for taking the time. It's been a pleasure, and to anyone that might be watching the video, recording of this, Tony, I gotta ask if we can end it with the classic, Tony D. W. Can we get one of those?
Oh, the W picture. There we go, the W.
Alright.
Yeah, I actually thought about that the other day really
Yeah.
quickly. I've got a W for the Tigers, obviously. They were the original ones that made that for me. Got one for the Wings, got one for the Pistons. I need a Lions one. I got to get working on that,
Okay.
especially with the season coming up.
Yeah,
But
we gotta get that.
yeah, and I need the video with the W. I love it.
Awesome. All right, Tony. Well, thank you again. And I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Thank you, Zach. It was a pleasure.